Furious Driving, proud to be supported by Bidding Classics, the online classic car marketplace with more cars added every week. Diamond Bright, protecting, cleaning and caring for the Furious fleet and for yours with 10% off using code FD10. And Lancaster Insurance cover the Furious fleet. They are one of the biggest specialist insurers in the UK, covering all areas of vintage to modern classic cars and motorbikes. Follow the links in the description below. Welcome to Furious Driving, and spring has sprung, which means it's only raining a little bit at the moment, and statistically speaking it's going to be summer quite soon, and that means lots of classics and retros are starting to come out of their winter hibernation. They're waking from their slumbers and they're about to be embarking on road trips. Now, of course, the worst thing you could do at this point is literally pull your car straight out of the garage after sitting for 3 or 4 months, jumping straight on the motorway to a ferry and heading out across Europe. So what? How far? 2,000 miles each way. Okay, but that's not something I'd do, of course, no. Okay, so we're going to do a few checks on this car. I'll take you through a few pre-flight checks if you're going to take your car a long way after a long layup. It's holiday time after all. So this is the 1988 Volvo 740 GL, which is a Norse name for Odin, meaning wanderer, which seems quite appropriate in this case. We'll start at the front of the car and work our way back and make sure everything's in tippity-toppity shape. And I'll apologise now for the noise. There are scaffolders taking down scaffolding at the other end of the road. Now, if the car's made it this far out of the garage, then hopefully the pedals and controls are all working as they should be. You haven't found anything dead under your feet. Now you've got to check all the fluids, because the car hasn't been moved over winter probably, and you don't know what's fallen out over time. Make sure you've got enough coolant in there. Make sure you've got enough oil in there. Check your brake fluid. If the brake fluid hasn't been changed in a long time, maybe now's a good time to get that flushed. And if oil has been sat since last summer, maybe it's time to change that as well. You never know. Also, make sure your battery connections are on properly and your hoses all look good as well, because you don't want to be 1,000 miles into Europe and something goes pop on a car you can't get parts for when you're away from home. And of course, don't forget your screen wash. Also, you may find a good place to stash gloves is in amongst your fuel injection system. And while you're around the front, also do a couple more things. Check your lights actually work. Think of it like a mini MOT. And also if you're going onto the continent, you're going to want headlight deflectors. You don't want to get pulled over for not having that little sticky thing on your headlights. More modern cars do actually have the option inside the car to change this from the dashboard, but being an old school thing, we need sticky things. Then of course there's all your tyres. Make sure they're pumped up, because tyres do go flat over winter and it's going to do really weird stuff to your handling and your fuel economy. And also, it's a classic that doesn't do many miles. What condition is the rubber in? Because it might have good tread, but it could still be falling apart and cracking to pieces. So make sure your tyres are all in good shape. Incidentally, this little portable pump thing is available from the Amazon affiliate link in the description below, and it is incredibly handy for pumping up tyres on the fly, just in case. Right, now of course we have the boot. This is a seriously accurate sticker for this car, the slow and the laborious. Road tripping in this car is a relaxed affair. Now, we mentioned the tyres, you've got another one in the boot, you should have anyway, so let's make sure that is also pumped up, because if you have a flat and that's empty, that's going to do you no favours. Likewise, do double check you have actually got a wheel brace and a jack tucked in the boot as well, because again, if you get stranded, it's going to be no good having a spare wheel if you can't get the old one off. Actually, where is the wheel brace on this one? Now, because this is an old car, I've made myself a little toolkit with a few essentials in there. First of all, we've got a rechargeable light. You can recharge that off the USB charger in the car. Lots of brightness if we need it, and it's magnetic. For fixing, we've got ourselves a jump pack, because frankly you never know, and again you can recharge this off the car's in-car USB on the road if we have to use it. We have got the basics of fixing a car, the usual corporate spanner sizes and sockets, all in 3/8 size, so it's okay to tackle most jobs. Got some mole grips, some pliers and some screwdrivers, but also we've got some fix-it tape, so if the radiator pipes pop a little hole, we can do a bodge on the way to get us to a town somewhere. We've also got a whole bunch of cable ties. We've got some blue roll just in case. We've got some coolant just in case. I should probably pop a little bit of oil in here too, just in case. And there's also some gaffer tape. If we get pulled over, they're going to have some very weird questions for us. And because we're going into Europe, there's other stuff we have to do for the car itself. First of all, unfortunately, if you've got a vintage C-Link GB sticker or the old chrome letters screwed on the boot of your Morris Minor, no good anymore. You've got to have yourself a UK sticker now. This is a magnetic one to whack on the boot. So I'll pop that on there next to Scrappage Scheme Survivor. That's a bit bent, that's probably going to fall off. I actually bought that for the Mercedes W205 and turned out the boot wasn't magnetic, which is a win. Secondly, we've got ourselves some light bulbs, because you have to have a set of light bulbs in the car in case they fail. That's the law. Also, the law in that there Europe, you've got to have yourself emergency vests and a triangle. Now, it used to be the rules that you had to have an ALCOsense breath test thing, so you could do a roadside breath test with your own thing. That's not the law anymore. However, you might find yourself in some little cow town somewhere with an old school copper who wants to make a point, and so it wouldn't hurt to have a couple of these in the boot just in case. They take next to no space after all. Finally, we've got ourselves a fire extinguisher here in the boot, and we've got another one in the car as well, in the glove box, where it's going to do a bit more good. That, I think, is the essentials for the boot. Okay, that was a perfect illustration of a point I was about to make. If you're driving away from home, I was going to say in a car that might lock itself. I think this goes for any car if you're going a long way from home. Take a second key. This car, in case in point, this car has a habit of locking itself without warning. So take a second key, stick it in your wallet. If you've got a co-driver, a friend, partner, wife, husband, whatever, get them to put that in the pocket and keep it in their pocket at all times. So if two of you have got keys, and if the car does lock itself, you're not locked out and stranded in the middle of nowhere. That is quite a biggie. Now on to the less exciting stuff. Slightly dramatically, we have got a fire extinguisher in the cabin because that's the best place to keep it. If anyone in your party has asthma, make sure they've got an inhaler in the car. That kind of goes without saying. But now we've got onto the paperwork, the really boring stuff. Because you're driving into France, it's not essential in the UK to have your driving licence on you at all times, but going into the continent, you need some kind of photo ID, and you need to have your UK licence on you to show you are licensed to drive the car, because the police just can't pull it up off of their computer. Secondly, you have to have insurance to be covered to drive in Europe, so make sure you've got a printout of that so you can just show that to any policeman at the side of the road. And also, you have to have the V5 as well, because they've got to prove it's your vehicle. So all this stuff has to be here. Now, it's not an essential, but I would definitely recommend taking that European breakdown cover. It's the kind of thing that you hope you won't use. I just paid £113 to the RAC. I spent a couple of hours shopping around online, and that was the best price I could find that covered all the countries that I'm going to be going to. It's not cheap, and you hope you won't want to use it, but for 100 quid, it does mean the car comes home again if something goes wrong and they can't fix it at the roadside. Additionally, some countries and some circumstances might need a green card. This is a bit of a grey area, so do your own research on this one depending on where you're going and what your insurance says. The main thing is check with your insurance that you are covered to drive abroad, make sure you've got breakdown cover, take your V5, take your licence, and you should be okay, legally. And don't break the law, because watch out, because in France they have lots of fixed speed cameras which are now 1 or 2 kilometres per hour above the speed limit, so it's very, very easy to get a ticket. Fortunately, this car is so thirsty that if we go abroad in this one, we don't go anywhere near the speed limit because it's too expensive, even without the tickets. And then finally give the whole car a good old once over to make sure nothing's broken, cracked, hanging off, likely to fail that you can see obviously. And this is no guarantee of success. I have spent many, many hours prepping cars for every possibility before I headed off on a holiday, and then within minutes of coming off the ferry, the exhaust pipe's blown without warning, and so you never know what's going to happen. But this should put you in a good grounding for a safe and happy trip in your classic for this summer. So the main thing is, it's nearly Drive It Day, it's nearly Pride of Longbridge, it's nearly the Big Alpha Days, Mercedes Days and many others. Get out and enjoy them. Thanks for watching, like, subscribe, you know the drill. See you later.